So, like I said, this sport of SF hardball is in coincidence with my past year where I've infused Ice Tiger, the mobile escape art, into like films and themes, and I've shown how its influence can be sensed. Ice Tiger mobility is to exceed the strike martial arts, and then thereby appeal to many more millions of people where a moderate explosive athleticism can exceed the impact martial arts. Now, I don't know if this totally relates, but when I'm speaking of SF hardball in these tapes, I've shown you the shielding, the larger glove, and I've also shown you a wild energy that's controlled called the Scheister that we see like in double plays and in the catcher when he fumbles the ball and throws to second and tries to throw out the base stealing. Otherwise, the game is, powerful body movement, a little bit larger, a little bit less like a fighter, But Ice Tiger has that in its mobilities, the same. Like when you're escaping someone, you become that powerful runner, like in sports, professional sports, and you become that powerful body and legs and shifting of your arms and accelerating for the escape. And like a football player, you can stiff arm, you can shift and get away from somebody that you tried to run away from who was attacking you, and they decide to run after you because they make that decision, then you've caused it to become a mobile issue. But the Scheister is in the fight too, when it's closer, when something happens unpredictably, in close quarters, punches, pushes, you have to know something what to do, or you have to know shielding and the quadruplex shielding of your shins, your forearms. It's the same. It's the same in the mobile escape art of Ice Tiger for defense. It's the same as in the SF hardball. So, I use the Ice Tiger art of mobility to create something where it's very difficult, like other than using the Ice Tiger, it would be like kind of unpredictable, like errors in fielding. Maybe our batting would be just kind of done and not really seen as like an event with like 12 points of consideration in our batting. Our footing, our grip, the distance of our grip, where on the bat we decide to place the ball. And we can choose that because it's mostly a slower pitch, type game, unless we mowed some innings with fast pitch. But mostly I would say it's a slow pitch game like softball, so that everyone can play this game. And we're playing hardball, which is actually very exciting. That anyone could walk up and play SF hardball. And you put a bat in their hand, and they've had some baseball experience, and they could play this game. And they wouldn't be like hit by a high-speed pitch, or they wouldn't strike out, as a fool to a great pitcher that's fast pitcher. And they could make it to a first or second base, even with low skill, because those bases aren't that far away, in the short fields that exist all over the cities. But if you put them, on a large hardball field, you just can't walk on and play. You just can't do that. You have to have, prior experience in hardball to do the real hardball. So, what I'm saying though is, the first tape probably described the game of SF real well, and SF hardball, and then explained the shielding and the big gloves. Those factors really matter. But the second one is the person, the energy, who could win the game is the Scheister. He's like the wild catcher, when the ball becomes unpredictable and falls out of his glove or something happens, It could hit the batter, and he picks it up off the ground, and he's trying to get it to second baseman to throw out the steal. That's the Scheister. The Scheister is maybe the shortstop had to like jump up when the ball hopped more at the last second than he predicted. You know, he put his glove too low. He's got to jump up and raise his glove. But I would say in this game, when you study the speed of a hard ball in a smaller diamond, and you're talking about, well, the best of the SF players, like the larger softball players would probably be the best if they would come over to this game and try it. You know, the home run hitters, the great shortstops, the great throwers and catchers, and the infielders, they would be the SF, best. But what they have to change in their game is they have to condense their movement. And that comes from Ice Tiger in mobility that increases in short, explosive energy. You have to kind of condense and then do faster stomping or, like I said, like a Scheister movement, and then you expand as you increase speed of escape into a normal, flowing, large, look like a professional sports player. There are sports that do Scheistering, like soccer and rugby, things like that. They have a lot of considerations of a complex moment with a ball. When they flip upside down, that's what I call a Scheister. Because those energies really work to solve that bind with the ball at that moment. So we have a bind with the ball, and we look for it. The bind would be a high-flying ball that would go over second base, and it's hang time up there, and we're not sure if the second baseman or the center fielder is going to get it, and they kind of come together. Who's going to catch it? They have to get there on time. Did the center fielder get there with him? Who's going to catch the ball? They could ram into each other, and it's a Scheister. But the energy is to control that nice tiger, like especially if there's like an attack upon you, is though it's kind of crazy, in the close quarters of an unpredictable moment, you could actually think that you control that moment with a style and a description of that moment and how to do it. So we look at the Scheister and we make it better. So I would say how to make it better is, like I said, to understand SF hardball in successions. Like it's a smaller field, it's slower pitching mostly. It's a faster ball, and mostly played by probably prior softball players. If a hardball player comes into SF, he'll be probably one of the star players because he has so many skills with the hardball. So they would like to have him on the team, a prior hardball team player. He would just have to shorten everything up. His throws don't go as far across the diamond because it's a smaller field. He would have to increase the explosive energy of his throw to have the advantage because the runner's running a shorter distance, and so he has to beat the runner. And these adjustments are normal. We could figure this stuff out. It's just that it goes from like the shielding, the bigger gloves, the mentality that it kind of condenses, in SF hardball compared to like Major League ball. It's like university softball, so we have to kind of watch them on tape now if we want to get into this sport. We have to watch them. And I believe there's a relative of Tom Brady, and she came up a little while ago, and she plays university softball, like fast-pitch softball. And that was nice to see, a relative of Tom Brady in a different sport, and him supporting her. And that was a nice time for us to kind of watch her a little bit. Maybe she could come up again, but what we're seeing is we're not trying to outdo softball or MLB. We're trying to create a safe game with a faster ball. That's all. It's just it's like a third. It would be softball and MLB is what, is established now in leagues. And then the SF hardball would be like a prototype for a third league. for people that like a little bit faster, more Scheister play. And maybe they want to hit some more home runs than they could with, the larger softball. But we have to watch probably university level fast pitch softball. Because what you'll see is the quick dynamics that they use in powerful Scheister type. It's just like explosive, and something happens and the ball gets thrown and somebody's out, and it's so fast on a small field. The dynamic of university fast pitch softball is like the teacher of us in SF HardBall. But it'll be faster, and we have to Scheister. It's like I said, like the catcher exploding to throw the ball to second base after the ball gets mixed up at home plate. It's like the shortstop jumping, catching a hard jump ball, bounced off the ground, and then he was able to actually in midair grab the ball out of his glove and throw it to second for the double play, which went to first right away. We've seen these things. That's a Scheister, or what I'll call Scheister in SF HardBall. They do it a little better than what Scheistering is. Scheistering, from what I say, is even more wild. Something more desperate to get that ball to the next fielder. Something more desperate to stop that ball. And I'll describe that. This tape should be a little shorter than the other ones. I don't want a reputation for hour tapes about, my mobile escape art or, my sports that are helped by Ice Tiger or sports that help Ice Tiger. I don't want to go into hour tapes. I like about 20 minutes or less. But those are introductory, so they went an hour. But what I want to say is when the Scheister is used in the SF HardBall, I would say that if we would gather good hardball players and good softball players that are real powerful and played this game, they would figure out what I'm saying like in the first evening or the second evening. They would determine exactly what I'm saying and probably the same. Because I've played both, powerfully. I've been a pitcher in hardball and a pitcher in softball, and I've hit home runs in both games. So I know what they would judge about SF HardBall. What they would say and what I say is the Scheister cannot be like a jump, like a shortstop in MLB might have to do that because the ball is hit long distance in his infield, which is larger, and it accelerates more. And what he's dealing with is something that's much harder to deal with than what we do in a smaller ball diameter of a softball field. So when it jumps and hops, he might have to jump his body up in the air to catch this ball in a most complex scenario. He might have to throw the ball while he's in air to get the double play, which is the premium play. We want that play to happen. It kind of links it all together, with the home runs. It has the great play. 2 people out is 2 runs gone. So, what I am saying here is the Scheister in SF is not like jump and fly in the air only. It's a Brickhouse, and then it becomes something like a flurry. The Brickhouse is you're not afraid that the event would something would hit you, like a sliding baseball player or a fast hardball hit from the bat, could hit your body. You're not afraid of it, other than maybe like your face, So, I would say, it'd be acceptable for the shortstop to wear like a face mask that's like translucent, just a plastic, perfectly formed to his face, and maybe just covering his cheeks and his nose and his chin a little bit. Very light work, that you'll see something like you won't notice it that much. So that he can face in the Brickhouse style of the Scheister. Because if you stand hard at a ball coming, hit from a bat at you in that close of a range, it's harder than the MLB to stop that ball sometimes because it's a shorter distance. So it's almost like combative. It's almost like slightly martial. Like you have to face that fighter. You can't just say, well, I hope to evade him only. Like he could surprise you with impact, and you have to face him. It's like a Brickhouse. And so I would say it wouldn't be to jump up in the air at a hop, because it's a shorter distance in the SF. It's just a softball field. And so the hardball doesn't act quite as wild as in a larger infield of the MLB. It's just a fast rocket coming right off the bat, and you're a shortstop there. You have to be able to have an energy and a technique, and it's from somebody that's maybe not a professional player. Like we have to have advantages in the fielding. And there aren't too many. I think there's like 10 advantages that I found or less. It's not like 150 things that we want to change about baseball. Maybe 5 or 10. So you have to stand in some type of a stance that you jump into at the perfect trajectory of this ball coming. You see it, and then you shift in front of it. You don't reach your glove right to catch the ball, because that wouldn't be you in front of the ball with shielding and your body to stop the ball if you miss. You want to have the added body shielding, leg shields behind your mitt. If you can't get over there, there's something that you're doing wrong. Like you would say, well, the ball came too fast, so I had to move my arm right and catch it right. Lean over if I'm a right-hander with a glove, I had to catch it odd like that. Well, if you reach left arm glove over to right and try to catch the ball, that's less of a chance of catching the ball than if you stood right in front of the ball coming at you. Or to the left side, you might have a better chance. So we see both now. It's to analyze the baseball technique. Reaching over left to right with your glove is harder unless you're, very skilled. But like I said, we're moderate players from the city that came into this SF league. We reached left. There's a good chance you can catch the ball away from your body with an extended arm. But the Ice Tiger tactic is to condense technique, move explosive energy, like this Scheister that I described, like the explosive movements of the catcher when there's a problem at the plate and he has to throw the ball all the way to second base. The explosive energy of the shortstop when the ball hops and he's trying to get a double play. That's the Scheister, but it's more of like a Brickhouse. Like you're not just afraid of the ball and you want to catch it away from your body. You want to catch it above your head to the left, or reach over and turn the glove opposite to the right. And that's the way you decided you would play baseball from youth. You just don't catch it with your body behind your glove, because if you miss, it would hit you. But in SF hardball, you would have to be that if I miss it and it hits me, it was an added value to people that are not professional players, and we have to be the Brickhouse, we have to be the Scheister, we have to be tough. And that's the art of Ice Tiger, which is actually, a mobile martial art. So you could perceive it that way if you want to. You see the ball gets hit off this bat from a star softball player, so it's hit harder because the ball is smaller. It's a hard ball. The line drive is twice as fast as a softball, so it's coming, and if you put your body in front of the ball, it's going to get hit. But you put your glove up and you do your best to catch it. But you have to be able to accept that you're doing a technique that will stop the ball. It will catch it, hopefully, secondarily stop the ball. So it's your energy. If you have to reach over right or left to catch this ball that's to hit fast off the bat, there's a gauge in SF hardball that if you had to reach for it like that, that you were not the right energy, you were not the right form of the Scheister and the Brickhouse to set in front of the ball. Something you did wrong if you had to reach to catch the ball. If you caught the ball, and you have great skill in that, that's the added value of the best players, That's the added value of the best players. But the shifting and the Scheister and like the Brickhouse behind the glove is the technique that we have to train at lower levels, because it's more difficult to catch a ball extending your arm away from your body than it is to just see it right in front of you. You aim with the glove and catch it. But it's a little bit more fearful to have your body behind the ball. But I was taught all three growing up. I was taught that you could reach left, reach over, turn the glove to your right, and I was taught that you could catch the ball in the center with your body behind it, and then put it downward and catch it if it's like a ground ball. Flip the glove upside down. So I was taught all of them, all four, or three, I should say. Right, left, and center. So we're building in this Scheister energy as we Scheister to the Brickhouse behind the ball, and it gets in our mitt. If it doesn't, it hits our body. That's the way we decide the technique's going to be, so we can win the SF game. And then we find the ball, with our open arm and our glove, and we try and get it into our right hand and throw it to second for the double play. We just do our best to get double play. Or throw it to first if there's no man coming from first base, So what I'm saying, though, is how we deal with a lower level of skill than like a pro player who can reach right and left and catch the ball off a bounce as a shortstop, is we have to shift. And I describe it in my other videos in Ice Tiger about shifting in mobility of defense. We have to shift our body and jump low height and fly across the ground with some type of footwork to position our body in front of that ball, or at least try the best we can, so that we can reduce the amount that we have to reach with our glove, and we can have our shields and a body behind it to get hit by the ball if we miss the catch. We have to get used to that, and we have to practice that, and we have to practice that on something like the infield, like a sandy place, but we can practice it in all kinds of places, on a paved parking lot. Throw the ball and has a crazy bounce in front of the guy, and he has to kind of position, like I said, Scheister his body, set the Brickhouse, and it's his glove catch it or his body hit. We accept it. We set that. We set that as the technique to stop the ball, and then we have results that are like higher levels of play, is what I'm saying. All of these three movements, right, left, and center, I've done as a shortstop in hardball and in softball. So I understand what it's like to have balls just pounded at me and me getting hit. But I accepted it. I accepted it. Like if it came off the glove, I had my right hand. It was like, while I didn't catch it in the glove and it fell, that's not me as a shortstop. I would watch the ball and I would see it like hit out of my glove because it was so complex what happened on the ground. And I knew it went down, so I reached down with my right hand, without my glove hand, to try and get the ball with my right hand. So you have to develop a right hand skill to grab the ball at shortstop, to grab it from the ground, to grab it when it's flying off your chest. It could hit the top of your glove and then hit like your chest muscle and bounce up in the air. You got to actually physically move your hand and grab that ball out of the air and then throw it for the double play. That's the Scheister energy and the Brickhouse. I don't have a lot of stuff, like I said. I've studied this for some years and stuff. Not much, though. Because it is not much, it's just making a few adjustments so that we all can play hardball. And obviously the main factor is we have to reduce the speed of the pitch, because so that we can all hit a lot of hits, a lot of home runs and stuff. And the rest of the game is probably reducing the base hits by field play for the other side to have something. Because there'll be a lot of home runs. Like I said, I can grab a hard ball, toss it up like 12 inches, and just swing the bat, and it's over the fence on these little fields. Because I was a hardball player, I could knock it real far. And the ball is smaller and it goes farther. So obviously we're going to get a lot of home runs in this game. So how we'd have to fight it, so the other side gets, is a lot of pretty strong field play, intense field play, quick stuff. And I believe that I haven't really ice tigerized SF hardball, but I showed shift sets from Ice Tiger. But the movements, are not a martialized movement. It's just a baseball game. And I do that in Ice Tiger. I go back and forth with sports. I trade, I find, and I specifically make it, But I would say, the shortstop is like near to like the experience. If you look through his eyes, the shortstop. If you look through his eyes when the ball's coming off the bat, at whatever, 100 miles per hour, that's a lot like what a martial artist has to deal with. So I brought in, the Ice Tiger, Brickhouse and shifting. It's like a Scheister energy. So we have to perfect this. It's like, almost like making a new martial art. Like, if you go to China, their martial arts look different, and they do different things. Then you go to Korea, and their martial arts, they jump much higher. They do different looking things. And the way that they situate it against an attacker is differently. So both are effective. That's how SF hardball is. So one of the things I wanted to say is, I've expressed on myself the desire to see Ice Tiger globalize, because we can replace martial arts with it. It's very mobile. So I would say, if people are liking the idea someday of mobile escape art, it doesn't really punch anybody or kick them, that the SF hardball is like right next to Ice Tiger. It's like just like a friend you would put your arm around with. But he is not you, but he is your close friend. He's so close to you that, you were born of different parents, and you have different interests a little bit, but you're so much alike, and you found this person that you like so much, and they're your best friend, that it's like you're one and the same. That's how SF hardball is with the mobile escape art of Ice Tiger. Very closely related. It's using techniques that are not really martial arts. They're more like mobile escape shift sets, but done to a very savvy and good looking and something we choose to make very nice looking. And it's an art that works, and it exceeds martial arts. So the SF hardball is the same. We should have the Scheister, but we shouldn't look like we're going out of our mind on the baseball field. But it's a good way to understand its energy. Because that's what happens with the catcher. He just goes out of his mind, and the ump is jumping around, and the baseball batter is jumping around. That's great. That's what's making that ball go to second base. But we have it at shortstop. We have it at all positions. Now, how would it be the Scheister and the Brickhouse in, like, the outfield? Is that really necessary? Well, it's not necessary in softball because it's so slow. When it hits the outfield, you can just kind of run and catch the ball. But in that short field, you might get a line drive that's only 15, 20 feet high, flying, at 90 miles per hour. out to the right field between right and center field and right center. He's not going to just jog over and think he gets the ball and he's just having fun in, a softball bar league. He's got to cut the rug. He's got to explode in a Scheister energy. His goal is to get in a trajectory of that ball where he's straight at it and his body is behind his glove. If he can't get it, he'll have to use the right or left glove configuration. And hopefully he has the skill to do that. To catch it with a crossover arm right or expanded arm left. If he's a center fielder running to right field. But we want to try and avoid reaching over our body or outside because it's harder and it's less likely we'll catch the ball because we're not really pro players. It's the Scheister energy to get your body behind the glove as the ball's coming and then poof, goes perfect in the glove because you saw it. And it's the best positioning style to catch a ball. So you see the Scheister energy in the Brickhouse is in the right fielder. If it's hit to right center, he's got to run behind the ball. So he's more frantic than other players. He's more frantic than softball players. More frantic than an MLB player. Who could probably run faster, so he has that advantage. So he doesn't have to look frantic. Who can catch the ball with his glove crossed across his body. So he has both of those as an advantage over us. But if we explode energy from moderate skills and just frantically run to get behind that ball because we see the trajectories going to right center and we're the right fielder. The center fielder might also explode to get behind that ball, and then you have to practice those in shift sets. Like, this has never really been taught before about baseball, but this is how Ice Tiger operates. It's that you would have to practice, outfielder crashes, like throw a ball up in the air to two guys, and we figure out a better way of getting each other to choose who catches the ball. Like, we both communicate, or we have something we say. Like I say, definitely got it. Maybe not. And so he commits and says definitely, and then you stop and you let him catch the ball. That's a shift set. That's a set of circumstances where shifting is happening. That's the Ice Tiger infused into this sport to help it. To help those things that are over and over again that are difficult in the ball game, and we could systematically maybe figure out how to make that work in that confusion, in that Scheistering, in that Brickhouse setting. So this basically describes that you don't want to jump unless you have to. You don't want to jump over to the side to catch a ball if you can run frantically behind the ball. But we just don't want to have a lazy kind of a trot and then we jump for the ball. We want to run as fast as we can, and it's the Scheister. Eventually it'll have a savvy look to it. It might look, or you might think what I'm saying sounds kind of foolish. Not so if we polish this thing. But I would say, obviously a professional ball player would say, you have a good system because you're teaching people to get behind the ball in the field because they don't have as much skill as we do at the pro level. So that really makes sense. And, obviously if they can't achieve to get it behind the ball, they'll have to reach for the ball and catch it with their glove. But at least you're trying to make that less, because if they would just kind of trot, they would really have to, dive and reach for the ball, and that would be too hard. They might miss the ball. So the Scheistering and running behind the balls that get batted off the bat, and to like a Brickhouse where, I can be hit by this ball. It's not bad. Or it'll hurt, but I chosen to do this style to win the game, to stop the ball. to catch or stop the ball in these fielding. And, you know, it reduces all of these balls that fly through, and, you know, they get the base hit. They get the base hit. They're always getting the base hit on field errors. We reduce the field errors by these tactics. And some of them come from Ice Tiger, but like I said, it's like a brother to it. You know, your brother, he wants to be different than you. It's just nothing really the same. But there's something similar about your brother. Amazingly similar. That's how SF Hardball is to the mobile escape art of Ice Tiger on my site. So I hope you enjoyed this video. It's about short field hardball.